Hi, Miss Six.
Hey.
You doing all right?
I am. I hope you are.
Ma'am.
Good.
Well, now you can come off that mic. I know you hear us.
Lenoir, you can't unmute yourself.
Finally got it.
I'm thinking at the same time. I'm like, I'm here. Oh, look at you in space.
In space and stuff.
That is a seatbelt, though. That is a seat.
Are you in the car again?
Sorry, set the mute up. Yes, I am. Multitasking.
How dangerous, young man, how dangerous.
Kosinski. I'm the district administrator for the Guardian Ad Litem program and working with abused and neglected kids in Wayne, Lenoir, and Greene counties.
Hello, everybody. I'm Crystal Suss. I'm a city council member, and I also support Kinston teens.
I am April Houston. I'm the executive director of RAD, which is Raising Awareness for the Developmentally Disabled.
Kalia Livingston. I'm a foster care and adoption supervisor with Lenoir County Department of Social Services.
I'm Melissa Reese with East Point, and I'm here covering for Vanessa.
My name is BJ Council. I'm UN50. I do the presentations for Kinston PD on how to interact safely with law enforcement.
And I think Tiffany typed hers in.
And this is Jerry Burns, Chief Court Counsel, District 8, Wayne, Lenoir, and Greene counties.
Okay.
Barbara Sutton, President of Kinston-Lenoir County branch of the NAACP.
Great. Okay, I think that's everybody. So I'm going to share the screen again. I'm going to ask for this go round. Since it's a small group of us, I think we'll be okay. But if I need to, I'll mute everybody if I need to. Okay? Sounds good? Nod your heads. Okay. So we don't have that much more to go in the PowerPoint that I shared before, but I know that it was a lot of data. And so hopefully today we'll get a chance to kind of talk our way through some of that data and break it down so that we can kind of digest it and then figure out what we're going to do with it. And then finally, I'll give you my recommendations as to what I've seen with the data and what we can do. Okay? So we left off in the disparate treatment block. And again, just to, I guess I can go back really quick. So what we're going to do is, what our focus has really been on how we're going to measure disparity, which is about 3 major categories, which is overrepresentation, disparate treatment, unnecessary entry and movement deeper into the youth justice system. And so we're gonna dig deeper into the disparate treatment part. So we didn't have a lot of time to discuss this slide, but I wanted to make sure that I went back over really quickly about officer interaction and about the officer type and what the referrals typically are. And why is this so important is that, as you can see in this, is that we have the blue are SROs and reds are just general officers. And what we're seeing here is like in the category of handled within the department, the SROs are not considered, but they are typically not referring a lot of young people or to handled within the department. And so when we're looking at that, we're hoping that we'll be able to, or just the data is showing us that generally they're not handling it within the department. They're not counseling people. They're not having discussions that they're reporting on these juvenile contact sheets. And on the flip side though, you're seeing that on the regular officers are doing more referrals for juvenile authorities. And so I think that that's an interesting data point that we should pay attention to. But overall, I think as we know, this system is in general referring more young people, 148, to juvenile authorities and 114 to handled within the department. That's a significant number difference. Okay.
Linnea, I also
Yes.
was confused about the small number for teen court.
Yeah.
I mean, does anybody have an explanation for that? Because I mean, to me, that's one of our best resources to stop kids from progressing through the juvenile justice system. But I was just kind of surprised with only one SRO referral.
And yeah, and it was an SRO referral. Do you want to say anything, Major Chief?
Call me what you will.
Coach.
So, Coach, I kind of like that. I've never been called Coach before. I kind of like that. So the short answer I have is no, I don't. Other than where Linnea is pulling her data from are what we would call a juvenile contact sheet, which is just an initial, the day of the contact with the kid. So later on, if it went to Jerry or after we talked to parents and things, it may have gotten referred to teen court thereafter. And obviously they are, because we have teen court that's active. It's just not documented on this original, the day of the event contact sheet.
Okay, that makes me feel a little bit better.
And Jerry may be able to help me out with this. It may be something where we did a petition and it went to Jerry and that's how it was adjudicated out through teen court.
Well, yeah, we definitely used the program. I'm not sure what window we're talking about. We're talking about 2014
to 2018.
Yeah. Okay.
It was like a 5-year window of that, and I, without having them right in front of me, perceptions would be that we've changed the way we do these contacts in that 5-year window with PACS agreement and not that type of thing, especially with the school resource officers.
Okay.
And again, I think it's important that we figure out, I think there are a lot of questions as to how these things are done and if they're done. And so closing these circles so that we're clear about how the process works, because maybe schools need to be doing referrals, or maybe KPD needs to be doing referrals, or, or down the line, we just go, there really will only be 2 options. However, I don't think that that's the way the public necessarily receives that KPD can do. And so clarifying that you do have the ability to refer people to mental health services, or you do have the ability to refer people to social services would be helpful.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Anybody have anything else to say about that?
Yes, I do have one question. So according to what was just said, the data that we presently see as pertains to juveniles that has been referred to teen court, is it safe to say that the present system that is in place is not what's really working as pertains to us being able to acquire data Because Chief, if I just heard correctly, stated that maybe at the time when the initial paperwork is completed, that it does not show wherein a referral was made to teen court, because it apparently has not gotten to the step yet where that would show. So moving forward, is there any way that that particular form could possibly be changed?
So that's something that we're looking at now, is, how we've collected data over time and other things that we need to be collecting in order to move forward properly. It's one of the things that's hard to know where you're going if you don't know where you've been. So right now we're trying to figure out where we've been. When you see the referrals to teen court, they're very limited, but that's directly from the PD to teen court, which is very limited. The vast majority would work through Jerry's folks.
Right.
They would refer through teen court. That's why we wouldn't have any type of record of that adjudication. Once we had our contact, we would refer it and then we would be done. And however it was adjudicated, we wouldn't have knowledge of.
Yeah, and that totally makes sense. So thank you. I mean, just talking it out, that makes sense to me.
And Colleen knows this. We have met with our local teen court programs in District 8, Wayne, Lenoir, and Greene counties. And one point of emphasis that we have said to them is to reach out to law enforcement and talk about your teen court program, because a lot of their referrals in past years came from district court, where as of December the 1st of last year, with Raise the Age, those numbers are going to dwindle. And so they will have the opportunity to serve more clients directly from law enforcement. And so that's something that I think that we have emphasized to them, that they can pick up kids at the front end as opposed to waiting until they get to our system.
Yeah.
And that's something thus far we have not been doing. We've run with the system as far as when it gets to juvenile services, and then let them do the referral versus it coming directly from the PD.
Hey, Yolanda.
Yes.
I think I want to make mention. Here's the feedback. I don't know what's going on.
Got 2 lines.
I was support referrals/recommendations, or only based on.
Hey Yolanda, why don't you type it in the chat box?
Okay. Okay.
And then that way, yeah, because the feedback is making it kind of hard to understand. Anybody else? Any other thoughts about this? I can't hear you. If you're talking, Colleen, I can't hear you.
Yeah, I just said, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to distract us. I just, I needed to understand that, and now I do.
No, I intentionally started with this slide again because I think it's important for us to really realize that one of the bigger issues when we talk about overrepresentation and disparate treatment is that Black youth aren't being referred to these other programs or these other services. And we need to see why they aren't being referred and what can we do to make the pathways clearer.
Well, I'm also a really strong proponent of utilizing resources that we have. So that was because I think it's a great resource, but not everybody maybe knows it exists and that kind of stuff. So,
and for clarification purposes, they were being referred, just not at this junction. So for clarification to anybody that may not know, that still does not mean that at some point, if the referral came to us, that they were not referred to teen court, because that's a service that we do utilize. So just not at the where we are at this stage, it was not, but we have done plenty of referrals over the course of that time frame.
Okay, did I miss Yolanda's? Oh, here it is. Teen court only handles certain offenses such as fighting or stealing, and at one time you could only use the program once. That was Yolanda's comment. Okay. I don't think
so. I have a question here, the NACP. So she stated that there was a time wherein you can only use the services once. Does that still stand true today?
No, and the most recent raise the age updates, statutes, you can do multiple referrals to teen court. Last year, we met with Judge Heap in all of the teen court programs about putting together parameters of how that would look. Obviously, if you've used teen court once or twice, 3 times, then it may not be an appropriate service. And so we were met with the teen court programs, and they were going to all work on something uniform throughout the district that would look the same in every county in our district as far as the number of referrals. But we were you can do multiple referrals. Right now, the teen court programs are working out how that would look.
Okay.
So when you're saying multiple referrals, you're talking about the specific individual, the specific teen can be in the program more than once. Because it seems like it was 2 different issues. I just wanted to make sure that that's what you're talking about. Okay.
You're correct. It is 2 different issues. Multiple referrals and then the types of offenses that they can be referred for, correct? And also how the process works and how people are actually referred into it. And it sounds like primarily referrals were done in the adjudication process, or if I'm correct, not in the first contact stages. Is that correct?
What? Repeat that. I'm sorry.
Okay. So I basically said, no.
Custody issue going on here in Wayne County.
Okay. So really what we're talking, I think what at least what I'm hearing is that there are literally probably 3 or 4 issues going on with teen court and clarification. So one is that how the referral process works itself. It sounds like primarily in Lenoir County, the process for the last 3 or 4 years has been referrals happen at the adjudication stage, not at the law enforcement or the arrest interaction stage, correct? That's
not at the adjudication, but at the intake, because that's still a step prior to it even going to court. As a part of a diversion program, we can divert it to a teen court, community programs like teen court. And the other population that teen court was getting previously was from district court for minor offenders who, as a part of a plea arrangement, deferred prosecution, they were sending kids that were 16 and 17-year-old to teen court. Whereas you know that right now, as of December the 1st, the climate has changed some, and so that won't be an option. So one of the points of emphasis that we made to law enforcement is to try to increase the referrals to teen court, as well as the teen court programs, reaching out to law enforcement and letting them know, how great the program is.
And then another additional comment or concern was the number of referrals a young person, an individual could receive. And then I guess, and then what are the potential, or what are the offenses that teen court would manage, correct? Those were the other 2, I think, big points that were being made.
So Linnea?
Yes.
If I may?
Yes.
I don't have those answers today, but I'm emailing away as we speak. I'll have those answers next time.
And in addition, I think an additional question would be, out of all of these cases that have been referred to juvenile authorities, how many of them have been referred to teen court? I think that would give some additional clarification for everybody.
I got you.
But that is the end part of the system. That is not the beginning or entry point in the system, which is what we're focusing on. I appreciate, though, that the discussion of, hey, once they get caught up in the system, what can we do? But the point of the perspective that we're looking at is literally their first connection to the system, which is KPD. Okay, so Mr. Salim, you have your hand up. Would you like to say something? Mr. Salim, are you there? Okay. Well,
I'm still here, but I didn't have my hand up. I was just scrolling through the options.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Yeah,
well,
I see that hand
that.
come up. I don't know where did that come from.
I mean, it's very polite. Okay. So for and the only additional thing on this slide that I just really want to point out is that there's a really big referral that is not on this slide, and that is mental health. And we need to figure out how we can start getting those referrals to happen, because we all know that young people, as they're growing into themselves, they start to need some additional support. And so what can we do to start bringing that to the table as well? Okay.
So that's something, if it may not be the proper time, but I feel like getting on my soapbox, that's something that's important to us. And the reason why, if you look at handled within the department and released, what does that mean? And was it productive? Mm-hmm. So, if we have a kid that's fighting or stealing or whatever it may be, and we contact a responsible adult and, a parent or guardian and release them, are we providing them with the proper tools or guidance or assistance? And what does that look like as we move forward to hope, that's the last interaction with that young man or young woman with the police department in that type of scenario. So I don't know that we're doing the best job that we could as a community in providing those. The resources are out there, mm-hmm. But as far as the PD to make those connections, I know we don't really do any connections with social services and things like that. That's something that the PD needs to do a better job of, because if we have an opportunity for handled within a department and released, it doesn't need to be you get a free pass. It needs to be you had an interaction and we're going to help you do better. I'm done.
I appreciate it.
I have a question there. Chief Dilday, you said you said utilize the words free pass. Could you elaborate for my clarification just a little bit? What do you mean when you say get a free pass?
Handled within the department and released means that a police officer had an interaction with a juvenile, where the juvenile had committed an act that would be a crime if they were an adult. The contact with a parent or guardian was made. The juvenile was either taken home or the parent or guardian picked them up, and there's no further anything from the police, from the courts. That's over with. At that point, it's done. And it's an opportunity. I see it as an opportunity where we could be doing a better job referring parents and kids to social services, teen court, other, things that are out there that aren't necessarily court related.
Yes.
I have a comment about that. One of the services that is out there that could be beneficial would be for juveniles, especially the younger juveniles, would be Pp. And that is something that could easily be referred to. And also there is a version of it because you hit on the mental health part of it, but you can go further into the different types of special needs. There's also a level of Pp that is called stepping stones, that is for families that have a child or individual with special needs that also needs help with the parenting. So that's one of the big resources that could be helpful for those parents.
Okay. Anything else before I move on? Okay.
Linnea.
Yes.
I do have a question for Chief. I'm not sure if he can answer it right now. If he needs to answer it later, that's fine. Can you explain like the process when the officers are deciding to do like a possible involuntary commitment? Because I know working in the detention center, just as much as law enforcement officers have to deal with people with mental health issues, and they come and they're confined, and you have to deal with that issue within a detention facility, and they don't have the resources to actually treat what's going on either. So what is the process for dealing with a situation and the officer deciding to do an IVC versus actually charging people with mental health issues with small crimes? Because I know I would see on a regular basis as a detention supervisor, people with obvious mental health issues, and this came from PD and the sheriff's office, people with obvious mental health issues being arrested for things like second-degree trespassing or disorderly conduct because they were somewhere that they go for shelter, and a lot of that comes with homelessness also. Okay. But when they have those mental health issues, at what point does the officer decide they're going to do an IVC versus charging them with something they don't even understand they did and going through the jail system?
So I can easily answer that one, but we're gonna have to do it in a different form because it's off the track of the juvenile justice nature we got going, and I don't want to get sidetracked here. But
well, I've seen it with kids too, so that's why I mentioned it, because I've seen it with some juveniles also.
So it is a last resort for an officer to do involuntary commitment. Involuntary commitment is going to be from a family member, someone. For a juvenile, it would be a parent or a guardian. And that's not always an option, although, you know, we see folks with and I'm not a mental health professional, but I've been a police officer for a long time, with what would be to me an obvious mental health issue. Involuntary commitment is not always an option, and folks commit crimes. I can't really relate it to juveniles because we're talking about custody in jail, so it doesn't apply to juveniles. But those are things that are handled by family members or
Well, I hear it, and I think that the conversation is good. And part of the reason why I like to have the conversation about mental health is because having conversations about substance abuse, having a conversation about drug use, all of that fits in that same bucket, so to speak. And so understanding, just like with teen court, just like with social services, how these how referrals are made, I think is really clear, because I think by us not understanding or being clear, I'm quite sure the officers aren't going to be clear. And so if we can make as much of this as clear as possible, then, and what the community's expectations are for these issues, then I think we'll have less. I think we can make this a little bit more of a robust system that actually addresses issues at the front end versus the back end, which I think is hopefully the goal. Yeah, but I appreciate the question, because I think it's a good question, Tiffany. And I also think it's a good challenge for you, Chief Dilday, to go, how can we really bring these other services in a really robust way so that we are able to show that it's working?
The more I look at it and then spend time and, you know, mull over where we've been, it seems to me to be the responsible thing to do for the community is utilize the services that we already have and try to link them appropriately. You can tell by the number of people, you know, who are now participating in our meetings that are folks that care, there are organizations that are here and already up and running. Just a matter of making the proper contacts at a proper time.
Right. And that it's not, this isn't a problem that only KPD has. This is a problem across the country. And so, again, I want us to be a role model that we can show people this can be done. It's not rocket science. So, okay, let's move on. So this one is comparison of interactions or referrals and the outcome by race. And why this is important is that what we showed before was just the grand total of all the interactions. But now this new slide is about the breakdown according to race. And I think that as we're looking at what we're doing, how we're interacting with young people, We want to see what the difference is. And so overwhelmingly, the difference between, or I think it's interesting that you almost have like a 50-50. If you're white and you interact with law enforcement, you have a 50-50 percentage of being handled within the Department of Release or juvenile authorities. However, the rate is much higher, clearly, if you're Black, that you'll be more likely referred to juvenile authorities than handled within the department. Thoughts?
So, caveat, I
Yes.
would need to separate that number from things that were deferrable, because there are some things that we have no option other than to refer to juvenile authorities. So that would take any type of, decision on the part of an officer on the part of the department to refer or not. So I would need to draft out the mandatory referrals out of those numbers to get a more accurate. If what we're thinking about is, the Black kids and white kids getting treated differently, I would need to extrapolate the data to pull out which ones were mandatory referrals and then look at what the numbers look like.
I think that's fair, but I think we've looked at the data in regards to what in general we're seeing people being charged for, and we can go back and look at that. But overall, what we're looking at is that when you're having the discretionary option to make the decision whether handled within the department or referred to juvenile authorities, more likely the data still shows that you're still, if you're Black, you're going to be referred to juvenile authorities. And I think because we're not having a huge amount of extremely violent crime or anything like that, what we're seeing is just basically a lot of juvenile behavior is the majority of what we're seeing. But I'm okay with us going back and looking at that data again, if it makes it clearer for you. Any thoughts about that? Anybody else? Before I go dig up that other data real quick. If you want me to, or we can have a conversation about it. Actually, that's the next level of this when we're done, is to actually go back and look at those again. Thoughts, anybody?
This is Jerry. Whatever you guys need from me, just let me know as far as trying to pull numbers. Obviously, we code cases by county, and so if I was asked to look into, what cases came from where, I would need to have specific names and things to be able to go back and track them in the time frame, because it might be outside that window that we're looking at from 14 to 18.
So definitely
2014, 18.
Definitely one of the outcomes that we've discussed is for us to go ahead and go back and do research on some of these cases, in particular with you, Jerry, because I think it would really help give us some perspective on what has happened. But we're just literally looking at their data, and so I'm okay with it literally being this is what the officer did. And then because I have seen the data on the other end, and it shows that definitely once they hit the system itself, that they're treated, it looks pretty equitably across the board once they're within the system. But still, I think it's important for KPD and for the city of Kinston to have an understanding of what their policies and practices have been doing.
I think that all data is important, but at the same given time, I hear about the different areas that our young people can be referred to. But I think one of the main focus should be, and I feel like it is within all of us that are present here on today, and that is to prevent them from even getting to the point of some type of referral, because many of the things that Black and brown kids end up in the hands of KPD, maybe a sheriff. Some of those same things, if we just be really honest, white kids can be involved in, and they do not end up in the hands of KPD or a sheriff. And so what we want to try to work to do is get the same advantages for all of our kids. Now, we're not saying that any child should be able to run through any community or any school and just do absolutely what he or she desires. That is not what we're saying by no means. But what we're saying is we want to pretty much level the playing ground as it pertains to juveniles when they do things that certain people feel is not correct. Now, I do acknowledge and understand that we're living in a different day and time. Things when I was going to school, my kids were going to school, that, we did, and, the principal handled it. Now those things take place, I understand. They called the police department. They called, the SOR, things of that nature. But we really want to get to a point wherein many of kids do not have to even end up having to deal with one of the alternative measures, because if they get the same type treatment as other kids get their white counterparts, then our data would look much different than what it's looking now. But I do agree that all data should be reviewed. But I want our focus point to be, if at all is possible, and I believe that it is, that, Black and brown kids get the same breaks as other kids get.
Okay. I agree. Anybody else? Okay, let's move on. So here's the, so you all have the PowerPoint that I sent you all has the list of addresses. I'm not going to show the addresses one more time, but this is a breakdown of contact locations by race, okay? So this is all of them. There are going to be some repeats, like say there were multiple contacts at Walmart, for instance. So those are reflected individually in this total. And the same thing for say at a residence, maybe 2 people were arrested, that's going to be reflected as 2 contacts. Does that make sense? At the same time. So what this shows is of the contacts that we have seen here, we have 272 contacts by location for Black people, and 16 I was able to find for white people. And what does that mean? That means that KPD is having more locations that they're contacting Black people in Kinston than white people. Now, challenge for location has always been that several locations are recorded differently. It might be the same location, but it's recorded differently. So some officers might report it as a block, and some might report it as a particular address. Some might report it, so which is one of the things that I said that we need to start breaking down the addresses as private residence, as business, as school, as public, and that would make that a little easier to differentiate.
Is school data in here also?
It is.
Okay. How much of that? Do you know how much of that is
Yeah,
school?
so well, we have 2 school addresses and they're probably represented, actually written out probably 4 or 5 different ways, being like 2601 North Queen, and then 2600 Block, and then you get what I'm saying.
Some things happen at the school, and then some things happen walking away from the school or near the school.
Right, and we need to connect it. So then if it is school related, we need to know that, because especially like trespassing, I think I remember a couple were trespassing. They weren't literally located at the school on the address of the contact. Does that make sense? Okay. Thoughts? What this does tell us though is that if we're having this level of contact, we need to figure out why we're having this level of contact all these other places, and what and are they primarily located in a particular area? Are they primarily located for a particular reason? And those would be questions that once you look at that chart that I gave you all, so you can see the addresses and see where they're broken down, you have that in front of you, or you can go back and refer to it. You'll be able to see in greater detail some of the numbers that I was able to kind of compact together. So last time we met, so are you all done with that one? Do we need to discuss that some more?
Good.
No? Okay. So last time we met, we had a lot of discussion about the total population of Kinston. And so I just wanted to make sure I did my homework and showed you that, so we're looking at 20,659 according to the 2018 census. And so we're looking at 66% Black and 29% white in the city of Kinston itself. So these are the type of numbers that we should be seeing. It should be representative of these percentages.
Okay, this may be an ignorant question, but is that total, this is total population, that's every individual?
Every individual, help me understand what you're asking.
I mean,
try me again.
Is that the total number of every individual counted in Kinston, or is that's not just juvenile, correct?
That's the total population of Kinston.
I was about to say. All right, thanks.
You're welcome.
Linnea,
yes.
Is that included in? I know that's not in the original slide packet. Can you send us?
It was
that
not.
slide?
I did send it to you. It should be in the email I sent today.
In the new one. Okay.
Yes. Yes.
And I sent a chat. I'm just curious. Does anybody track like the number of children versus just total people? I was just curious about that.
So I sent in that link that I attached. It had a whole list of wonderful data points, and it has a number of kids under the age of 5, and then 18 and older, though it jumps to 18 and older. I think the next data question that we could probably use to compare would be the school data. This and I have that next, actually.
Where are our school people? Oh, there we go.
He was here last week or last week. But this was the Lenoir County Public Schools. So this would be the closest, but again, this is not going to be Kinston specific. This is the whole school system.
Okay.
And this is data that I have shown you all before in the past when we first kind of started on this journey. And here's the suspension data, just to kind of make sure everybody understands them. This is data I did not crunch. This is data that came from the school systems website. Okay, thoughts? Do you need me to slow down and let that be up again?
Well, I have one more question then.
Sure.
Okay. Basing on that over 20,000 population in Kinston, and it's 66.
Who's talking to me? I can't tell who's talking to me right now. Okay. Okay. I just kind of keep checking on everybody's face and I just left. Sorry. It's not your fault. It was just me. I got lost. Okay, go ahead.
Okay, so based on the total population for Kinston, and it's got 66% versus 29%, I understand why you keep saying about the number of contacts dealing with race, but if there is the numbers are that different, then it would to some extent make sense why you would have more contacts of one than the other because of the sheer number.
So there's a difference between the number, there's an appropriate or what I would call a ratio number, as opposed to it being 1 to 5 or 1 to 6 or 1 to 8. What we're typically looking at, and some of these are 1 to 24, 1 to 32, where we're seeing the contact being so disproportionate. That's what the concern is. It's not that there is that KPD is interacting with Black people. That is not the question. It's the amount or the difference, and the rate of difference is so much higher is the concern.
Gotcha. Okay, thank you.
Can you
But
go
you're
back
right.
to,
You're right.
Yeah, can you go back to the slide about the school population?
Sure.
So I can't remember the date, but at the library we shared some data, and I believe it's from the same source. So it's 2016-17 school year demographic for Kinston High and Rochelle Middle. And,
Was that
and this is
KPD?
no, this is from the school systems website. So just looking at the demographics for the school, in Kinston High School for the 2016-17 year reported 722 students, with 92% being black, 3.7% being white. Rochelle Middle reported 94.5% black and 0.7% white. So that population for the county is vastly different. If you look at the north side schools, North Lenoir, they're pretty much split as evenly as anything we have. And then the south side schools are drastically different. They're almost an inverse of what the city schools are.
Right. I just wanted to make sure I responded to the question that people asked me last time. Anything else? As I said before, I don't think of this data that we are at the end point. One of the first things I said was that I think we actually need a committee or a subcommittee of this committee to actually really dig into data and help monitor and keep up with it. Data is an ongoing activity. It's not a fun activity sometimes, or for some of us it's fun, but for others of us it's not fun. And but the only way that you're gonna see trends or problems or things of concern is to monitor data. That's the only way to know and be able to address it before it becomes a long-term problem. And so I'm looking forward to people joining our data committees, and so that we can come up with reports that we can create and generate that I think will give people more effective information in making decisions as we go forward. Okay, so we're going to move on to self-analysis. So based upon all of this wonderful data that I have shown you for these last two meetings, I wanted us to kind of do a little activity where we actually focus on a particular data point. And I wanted people to have some conversations, maybe in little breakout groups, and share what they have learned, what they see, what they would like to address in a particular data point. And then we'll see how that goes. How do you all feel about that? I know it's hard to actually have discussion in a big group of 20 some people and actually be able to use it. And so one of the things I think we've been able to do really well is to kind of break up in groups and support each other and having conversations. What do you think about that? Nod heads, yes, no, maybe so. Okay. All right, so the first data piece that I would like us to just take a stab at looking at is this referral, the primary referral, which is what we've had some discussion about. This is the total amount. This is a data piece. It does not necessarily have to do with black or white. This is just in general how the system is connecting or making referrals out. And so what I'm going to do is, as I said, break people up into small groups and have a couple of questions that I'd like you to answer. Is 5 okay in a group?
Sure.
Okay, sounds good. Okay, so you've been invited to join. Correct? So you all are going to have to unmute yourselves.
we'll see if everybody comes back.
I'll have to kick them out if they don't.
Lene and Jill Day, how y'all doing?
Hello.
Lene, are you really on a beach or is that like a background?
I wish I was on a beach right now. I would not be on this call if I was on the beach. I'll tell you that.
So I'm not jealous.
Oh, everybody's coming back. So I have a few phone numbers that are not back yet officially. Oh, there they go. Okay. All right. All right. Yay. So I know we didn't get to spend a lot of time. This is harder to do, not together. But I think it's important when you look at data I'm one of those people that I believe you have to kind of eat it. And that's the only point in which you can really understand it and then be able to see it from people's different perspectives. So with that in mind, I'd love to hear what you all had in your groups. What were some of the discussions that you had?
I'll go for the people who were in my group.
Okay.
It was a phone number who I didn't know, Nancy, Shannon, but she had trouble coming in and out.
Okay.
As far as your question, is the data relevant? We felt like it is relevant, but it is very beginning. That it actually caused more questions than it answered, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
We also felt like there's probably a whole nother subset of kids who are involved with crime, and that's Black and white kids, but who never get to law enforcement's attention and don't have that contact. But that's certainly an issue or a worry for everybody. So that was kind of some of our thoughts about it. Anybody who was in the group, if I missed something, please.
Okay. The next group, anybody else?
So our group, very similar, that the data is extremely relevant and important. However, we're at the beginning stages. I believe BJ uses the term minutia. I'm gonna look that up at some point.
She does like that word.
Yeah, I do too. I wish I knew what it meant. So, you know, we got to dig deeper. And then there was some discussion about, you know, being other partners at the table and being not just in the city, but the county, and how does it look, and that type of thing. And, you know, the worst enemy of a plan is having to have a perfect plan. So, you know, it's not going to be perfect. We're not going to have everybody at the table that we want to have or need to have, that kind of thing, but we're going to push forward with the contributing partners that we do have and do the best we can for our community.
Anybody else in that group? Thoughts, feedback? BJ, you were being so quiet. It's scary.
We had a really nice group. We had Mr. Burgers, and then we had a policeman in the group too. That's going to come back next time and have data kind of disaggregated into what the causes were, the contacts were. So that's going to be awesome.
You mean when you say causes, meaning officer initiated or 911?
What they were, what the contacts were.
What do you mean?
The officer that's going to be working.
Yeah, what she means, if you can hear me, is
I can hear you.
Okay, why were the officers dispatched and for what crime occurred, whether it was able to be handled within the department or not, and then I can decipher the purpose behind that. We'll have a better understanding next time we have this meeting.
Okay. All right. I'll let you tell me what you're going to find.
I don't know. I might not find it.
Okay. All right.
I'll let you tell me what you're going to find.
Yeah. I mean, that's I don't know. I don't quite understand. That's why I'm going. I don't understand. But
we don't know. We don't know.
Once you show it to me, then I'll know what it is you were doing. I don't know.
All
Sometimes you need the end result to see what it was that the person was talking about in the beginning.
Do I need to explain it further, or?
Yeah, but you can talk to me later if you want to. Okay, but go ahead.
What I'm saying is,
okay.
Why was the officer dispatched? Was the officer checking out with somebody on his own? Did a citizen call the police because they saw somebody breaking into their house or whatnot?
So the origin of the contact is what you're talking about.
There you go. As well as the type of crime committed. Because as we've already discussed, there are certain crimes that we cannot ignore, divertible offenses and whatnot. So if we have to charge, we have to charge. And if we don't, then we will always refer that juvenile to their parent. One, it's the right thing to do. And two, it's the easier thing to do. You know, an officer working a 13-hour shift doesn't want to be tied up with a juvenile for 3 hours. You know, he'd rather bring that person to his parents and move on to the next call.
So I just want to be clear that we did examine the charges. And if you're saying that you're going to examine the charges as they relate to how they were treated, whether they got handled within the department or they got referred to juvenile authorities, is that what you're saying?
That's part of what I'm saying, yes.
Okay, okay. And so I'm okay with that. I think that as we have been trying to examine, it's a data piece that you can do. But I think like what Jerry was saying, the level that you want to, okay, I'll let you do it. And then I'm going to see what you all kind of tweak out of it, because I think it's important to figure out what the treatment is in regards to what the crimes are. The challenge is going to be there are 306 of these, and not necessarily every time for a particular charge you got the same result. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. Okay. And I'm saying that to you, Miss Lily. Does that make sense what I'm saying to you?
Yeah.
Okay.
See, and let me just say this: the problem I've got is just looking at that number. I'm not able to tell anything other than these were contacts and these were the numbers. But like Ms. Colleen said, it brings up a whole bunch of questions.
It absolutely is supposed to do that. That is the point. But overall, this is indicative of the actual DMC data problem, our DMC issue. And so the reality is that DMC is about kids engaging with the system. And what this is the kids, you had that KPD had two choices, and the two choices, they had multiple choices. Let me take that back. They had choices about what they were going to do in regards to referrals. And what we're showing the data is that when they had the choice, or when they whether it was statutorily or officer discretion, in general, more likely you had young people being referred to juvenile authorities. Okay. I just want to make sure we're being clear that we're not, you can't get away from that part. I'm okay with figuring out what the charges were in each particular category, but I think you need to be really clear. This is why Lenoir and Kinston have a high DMC rate.
Yeah, well, they go hand in hand. That's why it's important to know if it was divertible or not. So I feel like once we break that down, we'll have a much better understanding, or we won't. I don't know. Okay. That's just my thought process.
Okay.
And my experience.
And I'm going to put that. What's divertible? I think that's a good.
Are you asking that question?
No. I think that's a good question for you all to start. That's part of that questioning and that decision making that we need to start digging into is what is divertible, and so that your community understands what was divertible in this list of charges, and how many of them weren't diverted, and how many of them can be diverted in the future. Is that fair?
Absolutely.
What I'm saying?
Right.
Okay.
I think that it's definitely going to bring that question to surface, because what you said a second ago, and it's profound, that you're gonna, the deeper you dig, you're gonna see related charges or incidents or encounters or whatever, and you're gonna see them have different outcomes. So that's gonna raise a whole nother level of questions. So we need to be preparing ourselves that it's gonna get deeper, it's going to get tighter, it's going to get more uncomfortable the more deep that we go into this data. So this is a good time to say, prepare yourself, because what is most important is that data makes us question things, and data makes us go deeper. And the deeper we go, the more we say, ooh, the more we say we need to do things differently. So I do look forward to us moving forward. And I'm glad that your group decided that it wasn't enough information, so that it presses us, to go a little bit deeper. So I was also in the group with Chief, and we just, everybody agreed that it's very important, and everybody agreed that it's a process in getting that information out and getting us to hold these conversations more. So like that's the purpose and the mission of what this DMC group is about.
Linnea?
Yes.
That's mama calling me.
So we're discussing outcomes.
Yeah.
How far are we going to be able to push this past KPD's involvement? Are we going to go to the point of total adjudication outcome and look at the possibility of, disparate treatment within the system in general, or are we going to stop at KPD involvement?
I think that's part of the reason why we need all these partners at the table. It needs to be beyond that. It can't just stop at KPD. It can't. I would recommend that this is way beyond KPD, but KPD is the door in.
Well, and
that's kind of how I look at it.
And if I can just say, to me, the KPD has been very brave.
Oh, very.
But this is not comfortable for anybody. And I can, I work in 3 counties, and I can tell you there are some groups who would be there's some in our county who maybe aren't going to be willing to put themselves out there a little bit. So, that's something that makes me really proud to live here in Kinston. Sadly, the judges called a meeting at 3, and so I'm going to have to step away. But I had the same question that Chief Dilday was asking. I'm like, all right, so our next grant cycle, do we write to broaden this even more? Because we can't stop this when we run this one grant cycle. It would be tragic for us to stop what we've started. So my thought was something to engage the county more, because this isn't just a city issue. So that would be something I would really like. I don't know how far you're going to get into the recommendations. I hope not very. I hope not very, because I really want to be a part of that.
Okay.
And I'm, and sadly, I'm going to have to step away. I did want to share 2 other things, though. Really, and I'm sorry, I'm not trying to distract. But one, I'm really, really excited that we've copied this model in some way. And I don't think I shared that with the group last time. If I did, I'm sorry, but
you did.
And we've gotten the grant to do this in Wayne County, and I'm really excited because we have actually both the city and county law enforcement on board to be a partner to this. So that's really, really exciting to me. So that's a compliment to Kinston and Linnea and BJ and everybody who worked really hard to help make that happen. I also, I think we're all on our own personal journey. I wanted to share something, especially for my, white folks here in the group, but for everybody too. I've had some time recently there's a football player, Emmanuel Ocho, who has started these really great, I guess you call them podcast episodes. I'm old, I'd say recordings, but that won't work. Called Uncomfortable Conversations with a Black Man. And I would really encourage anybody, but especially the white folks in our team, to go and listen to those episodes. I just found it really great information. So I just wanted to share that. I just think it'd be something that would help open our minds and, you know, our direction. So just wanted to share those things before
Thank you. No, I've watched those podcasts. They're very good. I've enjoyed them myself. So
yeah, I appreciate that. Plus he's from Philadelphia. Go Eagles. So.
So I think this is actually probably a good time to actually pause the meeting. And because I think
excuse me, real quick before you pause, I would like to join in with the two persons that spoke before I'm speaking now, and that is to speak to the fact that we need very desperately for Lenoir County Sheriff Department to be a part of this. If possible, we do understand that we cannot make anybody do anything, but we also have kids from our county that ends up downtown also. So moving forward, that would be a great thing to accomplish if possible.
Thank you. So we are, Chief Dilday sent me a lovely message. Thank you. We need to, I really do want us to wrap up by 3 today. And I also would like us to to make a decision about our next meeting. So we typically meet on the, what is that, the 22nd? Do you all want to go ahead and have that regular schedule meeting, or would you like to have the meeting, I guess, in August or another date? So if I can get if people say, no, we can't do that. Otherwise, we'll plan on meeting on the 22nd, or?
I say yes.
Yes.
Well, Keith, you want to go ahead and do 22nd, or you want to go till August and give us time to dig through what you're talking about? Or do you think you can come up with that by 22nd? I was trying to give you more time.
If I go get it tomorrow,
there you go. We can do 20. We can do the next.
To be honest with you, I think it's going to be a longer process going through 306 forms.
Yeah.
I don't want you all to make a commitment to something that you can't really turn out that quick. But that's, me trying to give you a honest pep talk. That it's
why don't we, since we've done twice this month, or since we continued the June to now, why don't we do an August and give more time to be able to dig into that data more than we could in a week or two?
Thoughts?
The chief has spoken.
Okay.
Don't work that way, but I get it.
I mean, it doesn't mean that the meeting has to be about you all reporting.
Okay.
Right. Yeah, I was going to.
That wasn't what I was going to put on the agenda.
Okay. Okay. So my mind is on data now. So if we're going to talk about dig into data deeper, we need more time. If we have other things on the agenda, then yes, by all means, let's meet before the end of the month.
So I think Yolanda is saying that the next meeting, if we did August, would be the 26th, which is actually pretty far away. So I'm going to say again, can we meet on the 22nd? We really do need to do some team stuff, and the team stuff, we need to make some decisions about what's going to happen in the fall, like about our sessions, our workshop, those kind of things. We haven't done that kind of work.
Right, Ms. Linnea and Chief.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, my personal idea or suggestion would be for us to continue our meetings as scheduled. So, this month, just so there's some continuity in the conversations. Like we don't, with this being important, we're even as, Major Goyette, is getting that data for it. There's still some other things that we can talk about as a team and continue some of the discussions. That there were some questions raised even about the data that we do have that we can, I think, further out and kind of chew out some about the information that we're already working with. So even while Major Goyette is working on the other information, we can still just continue the conversations rather than wait until August, because by August, we'll probably need a refresh on everything we've gone through in this meeting and the one previous.
Yeah, I agree.
I don't think it's 26 though. You said 22nd and 26. 26 is on a Sunday, I believe.
The 26th, I think Yolanda was talking about, was in August.
Okay. So we can do 20.
So we're going to go forward with the 22nd. Looks like yes.
Yeah.
I'm not seeing any big no's. And
Yes,
we're
yes.
actually going to finish our agenda. and to be honest with you, it takes a lot to do data. It's a lot of hard work. It requires a lot. You know, I get exhausted. I know other people do too. So it's important, but it's important to dig through it because these are people. Each one of these little ticks is a person, and they matter. Okay. All right. So go ahead.
Yeah, if I can also add about the point that Elder Sutton brought up regarding the sheriff's office. Like, I know this program is specifically for KPD, and that's what the grant was for, and the whole entire initiative is for, even though the sheriff's office did participate in some of the early conversations. I'll just say to the rest of us on the call, you know, as community members here in Kinston-Lenoir County, I think that's something that we'll just have to engage with the sheriff's office about is, you know, them trying to facilitate a similar initiative to this, to really look through their data and see what we can do on a county level to address some of these issues, because we don't, you know, as much as, you know, the issue is widespread throughout the county, we don't want to really get diverted from our plan of really addressing this within KPD. We want to make sure that we're allocating the resources and the time we have now to this initiative so that then the county can also organize something and include, you know, the other surrounding municipalities in Lenoir County too, and using their resources and time for that.
That's a good point. Thoughts? All right, everybody. Thank you. That was a good note to wrap us up on. Yes.
You had someone that commented in the chat you may want to see.
Could we do 1 p.m. instead of 1:30? Well, since I don't have to drive there right now, I'm okay with that. But does anybody have a conflict with 1 o'clock?
Yeah, I have a weekly call every Wednesday with my employer at 2. And sometimes they'll push it back to 2:30, but that's the latest that they pushes it back. Today it just happened to be canceled, but it's every week. And if 1:30 would work, I want to participate in the full session. So I'm just asking, that's one person, but Wednesdays I'm on Zoom calls all day long. And
I believe it.
Yeah.
So is that okay, 1 o'clock? Yes, yes. I'm not seeing any. You can give me a thumbs down if you don't like 1 o'clock. Anybody? All right. Well, then we're going to move it to 1 o'clock on the 22nd. Thank you for sharing that you needed that. Anybody else? Anything else? Once again, I appreciate you all. You are superstars. I love you all individually and collectively. I appreciate you for being so brave, especially Chief Dilday. I am so proud of you. I'm serious. This takes a lot. It takes a lot to sit here and take this. It takes a lot. This shows what kind of person you can be, and you are. So I'm very proud of you, and that's why I give you lots of love, and I say positive things about you. You're a good person, and this is great.
I think everybody here participating here because they care about this community. You know, your police department has a job to do. It's not always easy, but we all signed up for this. But we've got to ensure that we're providing the proper services to our community to include our kids. So if this is what it takes to do it, then there we are.
Okay. All right, everybody. It is 3 o'clock. I will say goodbye, and email me if you have any concerns or questions or you need some data between now and then. But we really are going to shift. We'll have a little data conversation, and then we'll move into other housekeeping that we have. All right?
Thank you, Lynette.
All right. Thank you. Thank you,
everyone.
Oh, by the way, I did record this meeting again, and I'm going to figure out how to get it on YouTube at one point. I promise. But I did record it, okay? All right.
Thank you.
Thank you. I feel so weird not being able to talk to everybody before the meeting's over. Are you coming to see me, Keith?
Yes.
When are you coming to see me?
When can I come see you tomorrow?
Just don't come at 10.
What's wrong with 10?
Later?
What's
Can I
wrong
get
with
later today?
What's wrong with 10?
You can come.
What?
The barbecue place won't be open, but you can come.
Yeah, barbecue today.
What about 12? I just need to pick it up. I don't have to
Okay.
bother you.
You don't want to spend any time with me? I haven't gotten any paperwork from GCC yet.
And I can bring you this old paperwork just so you can look at it if you want.
Yeah, you can bring it to me, but they're supposed to bring it to me. They're supposed to mail it to the house. And then I figured I would sign it and then we could do another exchange.
Yeah.
And then you
Keith,
can
we
get
got Intel in the morning at 8:30.
Oh, see,
Yeah,
you
we
can't
got
come.
No, he can make it after that. It shouldn't last but an hour.
And it's Zoom, I think. So
Yeah.
I'm multitasker.
Miss Linnea.
Yes, yes.
This is Pastor Wade. I just needed some information.
Okay.
I did send you my email address. I didn't know if you had it or not. So I just sent it to you because I'm kind of behind on all the data. But I've been on the last time and this time as well. I just don't have any data to look at, you know.
Are you on our email group list? I guess is what you're saying.
I
You're
don't
not.
know that, but what I did was I sent you my my email address.
Okay. So what I'm going to do right now is literally forward you the email that I sent earlier today. And I'll include Yolanda on that, and she can I'm sure she'll make sure she adds you to the list, but I'll add you to my list.
Oh, okay. Will that be just the data for today? Because I want to be abreast of what's going on, because it's for the 22nd. I want to be able to dialogue with you all.
Yes.
Okay.
So I'm going to send you what I sent out last week.
Oh, okay. I really appreciate it, Ms.
You're
Linnea.
welcome. No problem. And if you need me, just once you get my email, you know, send me an email if you need me to give you something else.
Okay. Thank you, Chief Gilday, if you're still there, for all that you do for our community and our city.
Hey, you can hear me now. Thank you, Pastor Wade. I appreciate you.
Yes, sir. Y'all
Have
be
I
blessed.
met you? Have I met you?
Yes, ma'am. You've met me before.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am. You met
I
me
just
at
can't
one
see
of
your face.
the end of how do you turn the face on?
We'll figure it out next time. Don't worry
Okay.
about it.
You met me at an NAACP meeting, and you had met me at the first meeting that Crystal had at this.
Oh, yeah.
I got the dreads. I got long dreads.
I know exactly who you are. I know exactly who you are.
Okay.
I'm so much better with faces than names. It's so nice.
Yes, ma'am.
To
I'll
hear
learn
your
how to
voice
turn
again.
this thing on after a while.
Okay. Well, we can practice next time before the meeting if you want to try.
Okay. Yes, ma'am.
I try to log on a little earlier, and so we can try to get you on.
Oh, okay. Thank you so very much.
You're welcome. You're welcome.
Y'all are essential workers, so we pray that y'all be safe while y'all out there. In the name of Jesus. All right.
Amen. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right. Bye-bye.
All right, I'm logging off, y'all. I'll see you.
Okay. Is this
All right. I'll be there at 12 o'clock now. I'm calling you.
Okay, you better. All right.
I know where I'm going.
You want to meet in the same spot, or you want to go to your barbecue joint? It's up to you.
I'll just meet you the same spot.
You sure?
At where did we go? It was
we met at Panera at Briar Creek.
Panera Bread. All right, I'll meet you there at 12.
Okay, you're gonna call me
We'll
when you're on your
exchange
way, right?
goods. I'll call you.
Okay.
All right, I'll see you tomorrow.
Sounds good. Okay, thank you.
Bye-bye.
All right, bye. Okay, who's this last person? Hello? Hello? 252-560-1313. Who's this? I'm gonna hang up on you. Okay. You there? Hello?